Hey Kevin, how's it going? Congratulations on winning the 11-second Cub e-critique this month. Ooh, well done. My name is Jason Schleifer. I'm a supervising animator at DreamWorks Animation, currently working on Madagascar 2, The Great Escape. Previously there, I worked on Madagascar, Shrek 3rd, Penguin's Christmas Caper, Over the Hedge, and a few other minor things. Before that, I was working on Lord of the Rings, worked on all 3 movies there. You can probably find out more about me if you want. Go to my website, www.johnthedog.com, but I'm not here to talk about me. I'm here to talk about you and your awesome animation submission. I really like the idea on this. I think it's a very clever idea of having the puppet be the one who's talking and being all upset. It's a really great play on the entire dialogue here, so really nice job. I think overall, the animation works very, very well. I definitely dig the way you've staged it. With the relationship between the 2 characters here, it's really nice. The one guy bigger who's listening and being very caring, and of course the puppet who's just all over the place. I really love the dynamic in terms of the puppet being the one that's driving most of the big motion, even though obviously it's the puppeteer doing it and the ventriloquist. It's just great that the puppet's so expressive and so over the top, and the puppeteer is very caring and coming across as a really concerned person, which is very nice, very fantastic. I do have a couple of notes in terms of performance, areas where I think you could have really enhanced things and maybe pushed some ideas, and also a few animation notes, just a few tiny things. But overall, I think that the animation works really, really well, and it's a lot of fun to watch, which is perfect. It's great. So first of all, let's just talk about a few of the performance issues. We'll take a look at the animation first.
I was adorable once. Now, look at me. I'm this short, fat, insecure, middle-aged thing. I made you short?
So for me, there's 2 real key points here where I think you've missed an opportunity with the ventriloquist to actually add some emotion and thought behind what he's doing. First is right here where the puppet says, "Look at me," and he brings them in. First of all, just make sure that their heads don't intersect. It looks like the puppet's about to eat him right now. He's like, "Look at me when I suck your face." Maybe pull them apart a little bit, just physically, because right in there, it's like, oh, it's tight. But I think that what you're going for here, and it seems like you're just about to hit it, if I just sort of step through, the puppet says, "Look at me," and you can tell the ventriloquist looks like he's about to look away, but the puppet pulls him in. I would actually like to see, at some point in the animation, maybe right before here, maybe a little bit later, but it seems like this is a good point, is to actually see the ventriloquist look at the audience. That's something that a lot of them do when they're up on stage performing, is the puppet will be going off, and they look off at the audience, and they're like, "I don't know what he's talking about, this guy. He's crazy. It certainly isn't me doing this with my hand. I'm not the one doing that. He's insane. This guy with the stuffing for brains, So it'd be nice right in there somewhere to have him go and just sort of look out and connect, with the audience a little bit. It doesn't have to be a big move. Just literally look out and be like, uh-huh. And that way, when the puppet then says, "Look at me," there's a reason for him to go up and pull his head in. So that's the other thing. When he goes and pulls his head in, right now, the hand right here is slipping around on the face a little bit. You want to make sure that contact is nice and tight. Anytime we have something like that where one character is touching another character or they're grabbing onto something, it's extremely vital when you go into your finessing to make sure that contact stays solid and reads, because that's one of the real issues with CG is if it's not solid at all, if it doesn't really feel like they're connecting, we just immediately pop out of that suspension of disbelief. So you got to make sure that is really, really tight on there, and just you feel the pull. You can also, when you do that, I like the fact that the first contact frame actually has the guy's head turning. That's something else that we can do to really emphasize the fact that there's a touch. Sometimes you'll see people go and they'll do an animation, and it'll be like, for example, say the hand's going to touch the head and pull it in. It'll be like, here's a frame, here's a frame, here's a frame, and the head doesn't react on that first frame, even though it's contact. And then the next frame they pull in, and that just doesn't make it look like it's a real solid contact. And what you want to do is have, here's a frame, and then on that contact frame, you pull the head a tiny bit, so it's like bam, 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 bam. And because that first contact, the head's actually been affected by it, it makes the hit read. It makes the contact read. And you're doing that here, but it's such a huge move from the guy's head. You can see he's looking this direction, And if we actually zoom in a little bit, this might be a little bit easier to read. So we have his head here, and then as soon as he makes that contact, it's like wham. And you can tell the difference between those two frames. It's huge. It's like smack. But if you look at what the character's hand is doing and the way it's moving in, we have it over here, and then it's right here, and it's right here. And so if you just look at the spacing of the puppet's hand, it kind of moves straight up in space, and then it just moves in a tiny bit. And so the relationship between how much the character's head moves and how much the puppet's hand moves, how much force it's applying, doesn't really sync up. If you're going to have a huge head move like that, you've got to lead it to make it feel believable with the hand. If I'm going to move my head this much on this frame because of a contact from the puppet, it can't be like touch, touch, push. It's got to be, it's going to go really far to make that read. You've got to feel that force coming from the hand in order to make it really believable that the hand is pushing the head as far as it is. So to get around that, what you can do is either take the puppet's hand and move it out a little bit more on this contact frame, maybe out even a little bit more here, so we can feel that arc coming in, like that, and then they start kissing. Or what I think would actually work better would be to go ahead and pull the puppet's hand out a little bit, so maybe out to here, so you get a nice arc coming around, but then turn the puppet master, or the ventriloquist's head, only slightly at first. So you still have that contact frame, but you give yourself some time to actually make it read. Maybe a little bit more on this frame. Woo. And that way, it'll feel a little bit more organic and a little bit more like this puppet's tiny hand is trying to push this big meat head. This big oval sack of meat that is his, the ventriloquist's head. So that's one note, or a couple notes right there. Let's go back to full screen. The other point where I feel like you're missing an opportunity for a little bit of attitude on the ventriloquist is right here at the end. Let's go ahead and play this last section.
Say, I made you short?
And what you've got is the ventriloquist throughout the entire thing is sort of watching, and he's just like, what is this guy? You think about his thought process. He's like, why is the puppet acting so crazy, and why is he overreacting? And, the puppet's like,
fat, insecure, middle-aged, safe.
And he's talking about how he's all fat and insecure and hurt. And the puppet, or the ventriloquist, has to be listening to all this, and then he actually has to think about it and then say his line.
I made you short?
And his whole thing is like, short's the first thing. He obviously hasn't been listening at all to the entire conversation. But you do want to show a little bit of thought before he says, I made you short. Show that he is actually taking that in. And right now, if we look at his face, and again, we'll zoom in over here, just so we can see it a little bit better.
Say, I made you short?
There's a good, how many frames do we have here?
Say,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8 frames or so. Right in here, where you could show some sort of thought process. Even something really, really subtle. It doesn't have to be a, his brows right now are kind of up. He's got his eyes looking. We go to a thinner pen. So his brows are kind of, like this, and he's looking down. And you don't have to do something big like going to a, what's happening? Let me think about this for a second. It doesn't have to be that dramatic. But doing something as simple as going from, let's clear these, going from this eye pose, so going from this one to something like that, it's a very, very subtle shift. It's not very much, but it allows you to get a tiny bit of thought in there. You may even be able to pull the eyes, the pupils over just a tiny bit more. Draw the eye. It's just a little thing. But those eye darts, the direction of where the character's looking, tell so much about what's going on in his head and the thought process. And it's almost like you can actually tell an entire story with eye darts. You could be like, if you've got two characters looking at each other, I'm going to digress a little bit here, but hey, why not? It's good fun. If you got a character over here, character A, and he's like this, and then you've got character B, and he's over here, and he's looking at character A, and let's give him a little bit of anger. And you say, hey, they're looking at each other. If you take character B, and in this, let's say with this pose, you go, I'm really angry at you. Okay, so you say, I'm really angry, and we're looking at this guy right now. And then he goes, and just has a simple eye dart down. Oh, why am I so angry? I'm just angry. Oh, I really should stop being so angry. I'm sorry I'm so angry. Looks like, aren't I? And then you kind of go, can't we be friends? Get his little brows up. Kind of crappy little drawings, but they get the point across. You can tell a lot of stories just in simple eye darts. And so, in this example here, I think that there's a great opportunity for you to show some thought process with the ventriloquist here, with just really simple shape change in the brows. Maybe bring them in a tiny bit, get the eyes to dart over a little bit down, just really small, and show that thought before he says, I made you fat, or I made you short.
I made you short?
And you want to really feel that, I made you short, so that he knows, that he feels really bad about it. And then a minor little thing with the animation here on his brows is you've got one of them moving down, the screen left one moving down while the screen right one is moving up. Right through here.
I made you short?
Actually, it's just the screen left one moves down. And you want to feel that the two brows are kind of connected. See how this one just sort of goes doo, 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 and scoots down a little bit here. That's fine, but you want to make sure that the other brow is connected. Just make it feel like it's motivated when this other one is. But they're actually two pieces of caterpillars connected by an invisible line. You think about the eyes as a mask. You have like that. There's the eyes. Here's the brows. And if this brow goes down, the other one has to react a little bit. At least be pulled a little bit down or come down a smidgen. Okay? Let's go back. So those are the areas where I felt like you could have added some stuff to the ventriloquist just to help out with his performance. There's a couple areas as well with the puppet, which I think would be really nice where I think you might have pushed things or not taken things far enough.
I was adorable once.
I was adorable once. Right now it's a very smooth move, and you can add some texture in there, I think, which would really help it. So let's just watch that.
Once.
And so he does a smooth,
once. Was adorable once.
So it's just a smooth, I was adorable once. And you really can get some texture in there. I don't want to say do something cliche like a little head shake or something like that, but a little bit of texture in that motion could be really nice. I was adorable once. Just something that pushes that once a little bit further. Because right now it's just very linear coming out there. So that's one thing that would be nice to have on him.
Now, look at me.
The other thing...
I'm this short, fat, insecure, middle-aged thing.
I love the timing on everything that you have here. Hold on 1 second. Sorry about that, the phone rang. So there's all sorts of great motion you have happening here with the puppet.
Now, look at me.
It feels
I'm this
really
short.
Great, just nice overlap, really great feel through all there. It's beautiful stuff, really, really nice. If you listen to the dialogue, you've got these great intakes of breath.
Look at me.
Like right there. Now.
Look at me.
And I was thinking about it, and the first time I was watching it, I was like, the puppet's not taking his breath in. He's not, now. And I was thinking, it'd be great to see the puppet do a little bit of that. But then I was thinking, wait, the puppet's not the one talking, it's the ventriloquist talking. So it'd be wonderful, just as kind of an extra layer, is every time the puppet has that, if you can see that a little bit in the ventriloquist, just like, you don't want it to be a big, now, but just a hint of it to really marry the two together, I think would be a really great little, just, awesome texture in there. It would just feel really, really cool, and it would help add to the believability of everything that's going on.
It's secure,
The other
middle-aged
thing,
I made you short?
the other thing is that all of the puppet's movements are very this and that and that, which is great because he's saying the lines. Normally I would say try not to emphasize or put a gesture on every single point because it gets kind of repetitive, but he's listing them off. Short, fat, insecure, and then the middle-aged thing works really well because you're getting 3 words and putting it all together. But then with his shriek, it's again just one move. Little thing. And then he goes, and what would be great is to have something that's a little bit more frenetic in there and a little more organic with the motion, just on the start of the screen. Or so, something that breaks it up so it's not just an even up, down. If I get him, and even this pose here, I would think you could probably make a stronger pose than just his hand coming in right around here. Maybe it would be the hand against the face. You could just something that's a little bit more interesting than this, and is a little bit nicer to get into. Because right now the hand comes up, and then the hand and the head sort of come down together. And I think you can get that to be a little bit more interesting. So he goes, comes in like that, presses against the face. Could be really nice. And so finally, so there's just a couple things there. Finally, it's just to get a little bit more secondary animation and overlapping action on the legs. Because the puppet's legs are parallel the entire time, and he's moving around, but you don't see any sort of drag or follow-through on them. And I'd love to just make this feel a little bit more realistic by getting some of that in there. So throughout the whole
Adorable
thing,
ones. Now,
for example,
look
right
at me.
there when he moves over, and even when he goes now and drops down, do you imagine that his sac of body is actually full of stuffing and air, and when his body drops, boom, you want to feel this volume kind of expand a little bit, so you push out the waist, which could then pull the legs out a little, and then that comes out even more. So you have squash. Let's pretend it's big here, even though it's not. We'll just to highlight it. Plunk. And actually, this could go out even further. So you can have the legs, kind of be reacting to that, and then this kind of recover and come back to what it is. So it's just splot. And so then if you have the legs reacting, just to have a little bit of overlap on there. And this one would probably be in a little bit more. Just so there's a little life, and that way you would feel like his ups and downs are actually affecting the rest of his body. This would work. Let's just go through and watch it one last time, see if there's anything else
I was
that stands
adorable
out.
once. Now, look at me. I'm this short, fat, insecure, middle-aged thing. I made you short? I was adorable
Yeah,
once.
I think it's great. So, excellent job. Really, really fun animation to watch. Thank you so much. That's the baby. Okay, we're back. A little bit of crying, so that's okay. She's not crying at your animation. She loves it. Don't worry. So thanks again for submitting something for 11 Second Cloud. It's really great. I'm glad I got a chance to take a look at it and give you critique. Hopefully this information is useful, and you continue with the animation. It's an excellent job, and the idea is absolutely fantastic. So thank you very much. Keep going. Do more. Keep animating. Take care. Bye.